Anytime you take a photograph with a digital or a film camera, the possibility exists that it might be out of focus. But the term focus is a very different term in the real world than it is in Photoshop. In the real world, we're bending light to actually put something into focus, and we really are focusing the image. When you work with a two-dimensional area, like Photoshop or in our case Camera Raw, basically you're dealing with an image that's not out of focus, it's soft. Now we use the term focus because it makes sense, but what we have to do is reduce the softness of the edges. That's what sharpening filters do. Open up this image right here, but before you double-click it, this is in your exercise files, notice it's a JPEG. So if you double-click it, it's just going to open it up in Photoshop, but if you right-click it, you can then open it in Camera Raw, and that's exactly what we want to do. Let's start by taking a look at the image itself. Actually, there's not really that much wrong with it, but it was taken with a very open lens, so these areas here are more in focus than these areas over here. And what we want to do is try to bring those back into focus. But again, the word focus, what we're doing is we're trying to eliminate the softness of edges. And then our brain goes, oh, it's in focus. Before we start though, I'm going to shift her color just a little bit. Problem is, we don't have nice little buttons up here because this is a JPEG. So we have to do it more or less manually. I'm going to come over here and grab this button, and I'm going to change that temperature just a little bit. Bring some of that color back in like that. I'm going to stop there. That's all we need to do. We go to this tab right here to get to sharpening. And there you go. Sharpening. Amount, radius, detail, and masking. Amount is kind of like a volume control. Sharpen, if you will, more and more and more. And let me go ahead and take that all the way to the right, and you watch the image itself. Well, in a sense, I am successfully getting these areas to look like they are sharper, but I am over-sharpening other areas. So I'm going to take that back down. You don't usually go to 150 anyway. I'm going to take that to about 75 or so. Somewhere about there. Next step is radius. Now think of it this way. It knows where the edges of an image are based on a shift in the brightness of the pixels. And those would be the edges my brain says are sharp or it's soft. Radius is how many pixels, in a sense, it uses on either side to help make the decision on where an edge is. So again, easiest way to tell this is to take it all the way this way. And it's subtle, but you can see it is increasing areas and putting in more focus. If we go this way, it gets softer because we're not giving it enough radius to do its job. So I don't usually put this number up too high. I'm going to put that around a 0.8. What detail does is it works with the amount and it works with radius and begins to increase the detail in those areas. So if we go ahead and take it this way, so we start taking it up, and as you can see, the effect is very slight, but we are getting a whole lot more detail in those areas. So let's take that down. I usually run this about a 40 or a 50, somewhere in that general area. And masking. What masking does is it looks at areas that are really large and it masks them out from the effect. So it's only going to try to mask and work in areas that it sees the edges, and the mask will try to eliminate the other areas so it's not overly sharpened. So again, easiest way to tell this is let's go ahead and take it all the way this way. And as you can see what it's doing, and let me go back down this way, some of the areas, especially on her cheeks, begin looking better. Mainly because they are large areas. So what it's trying to do is concentrate on edges and at the same time take these other larger areas and eliminate them. When I'm working on faces, I use a lot of masking to help the larger areas not receive a lot of the sharpening effect. I think I'm going to bring down my amount just a little bit more. Now, if you want to see the before and the after, we could have created a snapshot. Another way to see the before and the after, it's kind of a mechanical way, is I can come down to the word cancel and hold the Alt key down, and that will change that to reset. And if I click reset, it goes all the way back, including our color. If I press Command Z, it brings it back again. Sharpening is by nature a very subtle thing. You really can't take images that are extremely out of focus and expect to get much out of them. That only happens in science fiction movies. But if you have an image that's slightly out of focus, you might use these steps to help bring it back in. On to the next.